नमस्कार दोस्तों। INZ एजुकेट चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट की पायलट प्रोजेक्ट सीरीज द ईकॉन सीरीज में मैं चिरायु भट्ट आपका हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। आज हमारे साथ प्रोफेसर गाजी हसन बैठे हैं। मैं आप सबसे गुजारिश करूंगा कि आप गूगल पर जाकर गूगल स्कॉलर में उनका CV एक बार स्टडी कीजिए। फॉर एनीबडी हु लव्स इकोनॉमिक्स एंड हु वांट्स टू परस्यू अ करियर इन इकोनॉमिक्स, ही हैज़ बीन अ रोल मॉडल। उनका रिसर्च वर्क इतना वास्ट है कि देखकर ऐसा लगता है कि हाउ कैन समबडी अचीव सो मच। उन्होंने बैचलर्स किया था बांग्लादेश से और डबल मास्टर्स किया है इकोनॉमिक्स में, एक यूके से और दूसरा कनाडा से। देन ही डिड हिज PhD फ्रॉम ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड करंटली ही हैज़ बीन टीचिंग एट वाईकाटो यूनिवर्सिटी। और आज हम बहुत ही खुशकिस्मत है कि उन्होंने अपना कीमती वक्त हमें दिया और हम उनके इस खूबसूरत कैबिन में बैठे हुए हैं और उनका इंटरव्यू कर रहे हैं। तो शुरू करते हैं, उनके थॉट्स हम जानने की कोशिश करते हैं। नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार।
I will start with few excerpts from the foreign policy website. It reads something like this, sir. Shortly after Bangladesh became independent in 1971, Henry Kissinger, then the US National Security Advisor, derisively referred to the country as a basket case. Bangladesh became associated with poverty and for decades was seen as an economic laggard in South Asia, making woeful progress in alleviating mass poverty or promoting sustained economic growth. Many scholars and analysts feared that the country would remain a ward of the global community, acutely dependent on foreign aid. Some went as far to predict a Malthusian nightmare in the country, with its population outgrowing the availability of food. Despite the dire expectations, military coups in 1975, 1982 and 2007 and a series of natural disasters, Bangladesh has in fact made significant progress in reducing poverty and in promoting economic growth. Last month, the International Monetary Fund forecast that Bangladesh's gross domestic product per capita would exceed that of India's in 2020. Now comes my first question, sir. Amar Sonar Bangla, Ami Tomake Balobashi. Bangladesh is being described as an economic darling. How did this miracle take place?
So, thank you for sort of inviting me.
My pleasure.
And so the question is quite vast. I mean, it is not possible to answer that question in one go. Right? And there are lots of different perspectives. So I'll just put on my perspective. So one of the reasons Bangladesh got into this current level is this, that Bangladesh invested in social infrastructure mainly.
Okay? Yes.
So when it was got independence after the war, okay, the main problem was there are too many people on land and there are not many resources.
So density of population was very high.
Yeah. And the war actually sort of destroyed the infrastructure. Okay, so how to progress from there? But the idea of that time, when the father of nation and
Sheikh Mujibur Rahman,
he gave the sort of perspective towards people that you have to do for the people. Okay, so the perspective was not that rebuild the economy, rebuild the infrastructure. No, because we had to sort of save the people. Okay, so that's why since then, all other government that came, after that, that it said that in the 80s, 75 there was a coup and another government came and all, okay. But the process of investing on people remained.
Right.
So social infrastructure was slowly built. So at the time when the social infrastructure was being built, okay, the economy was not growing as much because you're not investing in profitable investments. You're investing in things which are really
intangible.
And the return is comes very late, very long run return. Okay, so that's why at the initial stage it was not that rich, or it was very poor. Within that time, in that time frame, so not only people invested, but the Bangladesh invested in people, it also invested in women.
Right.
So they have the policy was that
woman empowerment.
Empowerment. So basically, the idea is that there has to be woman empowerment, and the woman needs to. So because the labor force is totally dominated by the men, but the women are not. So if the country has to grow, there has to be additional labor force. Okay, so so the woman was, so it is a majority Muslim country, and asking women to come out and work, it's not a very easy thing. Okay,
Yes.
Goes against religious dogmas and all this thing. But even then, the poor woman in the in the rural area and all, they could get the idea that they have to take control of their lives. Okay, and they came out. When the government gave them incentives, they took the incentives.
Yes.
And they took the incentives in various ways. One was, for example, Dr. Yunus, through microcredit, and BRAC as another NGOs, which sort of mobilized these savings.
मैं अपने श्रोताओं को डॉक्टर मोहम्मद यूनुस के बारे में थोड़ा बताना चाहता हूं, जिनका सर ने जिक्र किया। डॉक्टर मोहम्मद यूनुस ने ग्रामीण बैंक की स्थापना की बांग्लादेश में, और पिछले 40 या 50 सालों में ग्रामीण बैंक की वजह से पता नहीं कितने मिलियन लोग पॉवर्टी लाइन से ऊपर उठ चुके हैं। तो उन्होंने एक बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त रोल प्ले किया है। यस सर।
Yeah, okay. So now when this thing was going on, Grameen Bank and all that, so Professor Yunus's idea was this, that we need to give small loans to people.
Yes.
Without any collateral.
Yes.
That's the idea, okay, without collateral.
Yeah.
And he said that the loan should be given to the woman.
Wow.
Because women are more responsible than men. Okay?
Yes.
And it is less chance for a woman to take the money and flee.
Yes, yes.
Because but it is more chances that men will take the money and just leave. Okay?
Yes.
So that is the idea. So from where it began from all there. The woman empowerment started with many other things, and this is one of the examples. Okay. So when women become joining the labor force and empowered, then slowly in 80s, what happened is the ready-made garments industry,
Yes.
the apparel producers. So Bangladesh slowly started to get orders, okay, for this ready-made garments export, and it was very small at that time. But given Bangladesh was so poor, the labor was so cheap, okay, all companies, they wanted to take the advantage of this low-cost labor. So in this industry, which now is the world's second biggest,
After China.
yeah, after China, so this industry is totally dominated by women. All workers are women.
Wow.
Okay, all right. So because these workers are women, and the women empowerment had already started, okay, and then now they are getting well-paid well, not well-paid in terms of but well-paid in terms of what they used to earn, okay, compared to their well-paid, okay, and women started to become educated, because in order to get a job in the garment sector, okay, you need a certain amount of education.
Right.
So they started to get educated as well.
Yes.
Okay. And
So things started falling in place for Bangladesh.
yeah, it was
Slowly and gradually.
basically through women empowerment.
Yes.
That's
Very
it.
nice.
So that is the social sector revolution, and because different countries, they start with investment, big infrastructure project, and all, so they think that it will then make everything. They think it will trickle down, and everybody will be better off. The Bangladesh started with very small thing. Okay, well, let's do this first, and then slowly it worked out, and now. And the very latest report is, I don't know, that there's a thing called Bangladesh enrollment of female student is higher than male students.
Wow. What an achievement.
Yeah. So that's and not only that, a very recent studies have done a large survey asking parents, did you wish to have a son rather than a daughter? The answer was more than 50% no.
Wow.
So they're happy with a female child.
Yes.
So these are the things that have changed.
So the mentality and everything is
Also,
changing in
the
the society.
society's structure has changed.
Yes.
So
Nicely explained, sir.
yeah.
Thank you. Second question. I know this is your favorite topic. 10 million Bangladeshis send 15 billion to 20 billion on an annual basis to Bangladesh. What are the repercussions of this remittance on the Bangladesh economy?
Okay. So you can think it in terms this way, that these people, say about 10 million migrants, okay, they would have otherwise been unemployed in the country. So now they are going and working there.
In Malaysia, Singapore,
So,
Middle East,
yeah.
London,
Yeah. So that's one way you can see it, okay. The other way to see it is that Bangladesh is like they're exporting garments. they're exporting their commodity, which is their labor, okay,
Yes.
which is valuable to that to that sector, like in the unskilled sector, they're valuable there, okay.
Yes.
So they're exporting this human sort of manpower to that sector, okay. So this is also one type of export, okay?
Yes.
All right. Now what is happening? Eventually, when the remittances in the initial period, and the study have shown that it wasn't utilized very well.
Yes.
People just took the money and bought like land and all this thing, okay. So basically, extra consumption and
Yes.
things like that. But later on, what was happened is that it was found that remittance, those family who receive regular remittances, their children go to school regularly, their children have better nutrition level, okay.
Yes.
So in general, that family is more resilient to climate disaster, like they're more prepared for if something happens.
So overall well-being of the household increased.
Yeah. Well, because when these people started to live abroad, okay, then they knew that what is the benefit of education.
Yes.
So they tried to tell that, okay, fine, if you want to have a better life than me, okay,
Yeah.
then you better
need to study.
Then you need to get study. Okay?
Yes.
So that was a generational change. So the first generation, they didn't even bother. They just sent money and then they just. So there was a bit of wastage, so not that much. But in the second generation, like maybe from the 90s onwards, okay, the remittance money was actually used for the purpose of like matters like education, health, and all
Yes.
these things. Okay, so these are like mainly sort of household level. Okay, but in the macro level, there is a huge thing. Because of this remittances, Bangladesh has reserve of foreign currency which exceeds about $40 billion. Okay.
Wow.
Now, why it is important? It is important because if a country wants to model it or to brand it to the world, saying that we are internationally competitive, you can come and invest here, you can own your business, you can make money, and you can take your money to
Yes.
your country, no question asked. Okay.
Yes.
Everybody will say that. But the country, they will say that, fine, what guarantee you can give me that I will be able to take my money back?
Yes.
Okay. So one criteria for that is to see that how much reserve do you have. If you have like zero reserve, okay,
Very nice answer.
zero reserve, then they will say that.
Yeah. It is very likely that you will tax us in the future and you will take away our money.
I know we can make profit and everything, but we can't take the money away because you don't have the reserve to
Yes.
to convert the money. We will earn it in taka, but we have to convert it in dollar. If you don't have the dollar, then how will you take the money?
Yes. Very nice answer. Thank you, sir. The next one is about New Zealand. The government increased minimum wage from 1st April this year. Your thoughts on it?
Usually, minimum wage is a controversial controversial law, or it's a controversy. Like in America, some states have minimum wage, some state doesn't have minimum wage, and usually minimum wage is looked at as a friction in the labor market. Like you're doing something in the labor market, and you're destroying the mechanism.
Yes.
And then anyway, so that's the idea, theoretical idea. Now, usually, if the government increases minimum wage, there are two ways to answer that, or two ways to look at it. One is, what is the economics behind it, and second one is, what is the politics behind it. Okay, so government can be politically motivated to increase the minimum wage. Okay, it can say that okay, they're looking at the welfare of the people, like who are working at that level. Okay, and we want to ensure the minimum standard of living. Fine. Okay, but this is all good if it doesn't cost the employment. If the employer says that if the minimum wage is this much, I'm not going to hire. I'm going to ask my son to do the job.
Yes. Instead of 3 people, we will hire only two people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, in that case, the very people that you want to benefit, they are actually suffering because
Yes.
otherwise they would have had a job. Now, I mean, these people will go to the employer. They said, you know what? You don't have to pay me minimum wage. You pay me less than minimum wage, but still give me a job.
Yes.
Okay. So this is called labor market frictions. That you do something. So that's one thing. The employer or the business, okay, it increases their cost. minimum wage basically increases their cost. Okay, so so it's not a cost on them directly. Okay, it's not a tax. Okay, but the thing is it does hamper their total wage bill. Like
Yes.
so their profit can fall and there are lots of things. So I mean, in general, in the end, investment can fall.
Yes.
Say, for example, the small business and small units of cafes and all these things, small. They may.
So you are
reduce
recommending
consumption.
this was not the right time to increase the minimum wage, in other words.
I mean, the thing is, there are two sides. Because of the coronavirus pandemic, okay, people are in short of cash and short of money. Okay, so you want to help them, you can increase the minimum wage. Okay, but then again, the other policy would have been that not to increase the minimum wage and let the businesses invest more, and then they will hire more people.
Yes.
So that is another way of helping as well. Okay.
Yes.
And I mean, since I said that in the beginning, there is economics and politics, and
Yes.
I don't know what's the politics. Government knows better that what is their motive or what is their analysis. Okay, but it has both it's,
Pros and cons,
It
yeah.
is pros and cons. We can't say that it is good or we can't say it is bad.
Fair enough. So many people ask us, sir, why are we so slow in New Zealand on big ticket infrastructure projects? Any other developed country, they would finish
Yeah.
big ticket infrastructure projects in 6 months or 1 year. In New Zealand, it takes 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, for example, the Auckland highway, the
Yes.
expressway. Yeah. I mean, the reason is very simple actually to me. Okay, so what I have seen in New Zealand is that they're extremely bureaucratic. Say you want to change a reference in an article of association or something like that. Okay, say you want to change one word. Okay, and they will do say 10 meetings. Whether this word can be changed, if it can, and then they will give it to review and then feedback and then review and then feedback. Okay, but it is only one word. Okay, and
So there are lots of bureaucratic hurdles.
exactly. I call it curse of democracy. I mean,
Curse of democracy.
yeah. So they are so democratic. Okay. And so clean. This is one of the least corrupt countries in the world, right?
Yes.
So they're so clean, okay? So they waste time. So their idea is project can wait, no problem, okay? But there should not be any doubt on the process.
Right.
So
Okay.
it is the reason that it's not because they don't have the capacity. It's just that their bureaucracy is.
You explained it beautifully. Thank you, sir. Sir, this is the highlighted question of the interview. If you were the Finance Minister Grant Robertson, what are the 3 things that you would do to fasten economic activity in the country?
That's a very, very interesting question.
Actually, you should be Finance Minister,
Yeah. I mean, as an economist, I know that. So I believe in free market economics.
Yes.
Okay? So because of that, I know that everything in the economy happens as a spontaneous interaction of people. Okay, and there are free-minded people. Okay, and their free-minded decisions they create things. So basically, in that case, there is no policy that can actually do something better for the people that they can't do for themselves. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay,
Yes.
but there can be some macroeconomic policies which can be important. Okay, so one macroeconomic policy is that I think at the moment, which is very important, is that after the COVID, the government had spent a lot. Okay, thankfully they had surplus from the previous government, from the previous legacy, so they could spend that. Okay, now they have gone to deficit. Okay,
Okay.
now they will go to further deficit perhaps. Okay, but eventually they will have to pay it back. Okay, so the government has to have a roadmap.
Hang on a second, sir. When you say that they had a surplus from the previous government, but some people say that in order to give wage subsidy, they borrowed $69 billion.
No, otherwise it would have been even more. The borrowing would have been even more.
Okay, got you. Yes.
Okay?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they run down the surplus and then they went for deficit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Otherwise it would have been even more.
Yeah.
So basically, the government needs to have a plan about how they are going to pay back this thing. Okay. So, in a very macroeconomic way, say for example, if the government has borrowed and then have sold bonds, okay,
Yes.
to get the money, okay, and then say for example the bonds were bought by the rich people, okay,
Yes.
and the government is paying interest on those bonds, okay, then the rich people will be benefited because of government's deficit,
Yes.
okay, because they own the bond, okay, and they are getting the interest on the bond, okay. So a famous economist, Keynes,
Yes.
he said that the government should actually sell the bonds to the workers. Okay.
मैं अपने व्यूअर्स को बताना चाहता हूँ देयर आर 3 schools of economists. First, classical. Gazi sir belongs to classical school of economics. Austrian school of economics and Keynesian school of economics. He is referring to Keynesian thoughts at the moment. Ji, yes.
So the Keynes, the idea was this, that if you sell it to the rich people bond, and then so the rich people, they get the interest and they get richer, okay. So that there is a problem with the distribution of income, okay. And the other thing is because of that, if you sell bonds and suddenly, say for example, if inflation goes up, okay, during that process, which happens if there's a huge deficit, okay, then the workers' real wage actually fall because,
Yes.
all right, okay. So the worker class is being very much affected, okay. So Keynes said that these bonds should be sold in small quantity to the workers, okay,
Wow.
and they should be forced to save from their income, okay, and from there from that savings they should buy this bond, okay. So not the rich people should buy this, but the workers, okay.
Very good point. Very good point.
So something like that, the finance minister should think that
Yes.
that what is the consequences on inequality, economic inequality
Yes.
of this deficit.
Yes.
That which group of people are going to bear the burden, more or less, okay, and that should be a part of decision-making process, okay. And I would think that second thing is the house prices, so which is a genuine concern, okay. But so in economics, the price of house, okay, so it is considered as a continuous variable, okay, and it has it has prehistory, so basically it is autocorrelated. It has some, so you can't really attack price because it has its own mechanism, but it should be something, they should do something for that. That's for sure. So
What can that something be, according to you?
say capital gain tax could be one of the process.
Yes.
Or in general terms, do anything that you can in which you can make buying a house less attractive.
Okay.
Do whatever you want.
Yes.
Make the
Very good answer.
So-
Very, very good answer. Yes.
Make that thing, that I want to buy a house, make this thing less attractive.
Yes. In
And
this country, if you do not own a house, you are deemed to be a failure. You are considered a failure. So we need to get out from this mentality.
Exactly.
That's what he's referring to.
Exactly.
Very good point, sir.
Yeah. So and exactly. I mean, the thing is those people, that first homeowner, okay, first homeowner because the sons and daughter, okay, their dad has 10 homes,
Yes.
or their mother has 5 homes, so their family owns many houses,
Yes.
but the son and the daughter maybe they don't own the house, okay. So so there is a consequences. Those who own asset,
Yes.
that those people tend to own more asset, okay. So that needs to be figured out, and then
And third recommendation for the finance minister.
okay. That's a good. All right. The third recommendation would be that, to have a balance in the. So the business sector and the social sector both are very important. So now we can see that there are lots of investment in social sector. Okay. And then lots of which is a good thing, okay, and it is really recommended that it goes on, okay, but also whether these expenditures are going to the right people or the right person, whether they've
Fair
been
enough.
used or not, right? So having a mechanism, having a check and balance, so that because it is a small country anyways, we don't afford to waste resources.
New Zealand is a $200 billion economy, so it's a very small economy. That's what he's trying to say. Yes, sir.
So because we don't want to have any waste, okay, and the investors, those people who are like, I don't know whether you know this, in OECD group of countries,
Yes.
New Zealand has the highest inequality. In New Zealand is the lowest in terms of income, but highest in terms of inequality. So a group of people who own the most of the assets in the country. Okay. So this has become a tradition. Okay. So maybe the finance minister should think of policies that will redistribute some of this wealth, so that
Very good point, sir. Otherwise, it will challenge our tag of egalitarian society as well.
Yeah, of course,
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Sixth one. What are your thoughts on the current war of words between Reserve Bank of New Zealand and Government of New Zealand? They are trying to shift blame on.
Actually, I mean, my thought on this is that because of the houses prices are going, through the roof. Okay, now it has become a political move for the government to do something about it. Because if they don't, then it becomes like they're not doing anything. So that thing was a political move basically, but the reason that the house prices went, so I don't know. I have written an article like last year after the COVID, and then I predicted that the house prices is going to rise, not going to fall. Okay, it's because now people will have more money and the interest rate is so low, so they're going to buy more houses.
Yes.
So
Sir,
this is
if it was that simple, how come Reserve Bank of New Zealand and Finance Minister and Government of New Zealand didn't pick this up?
See, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand it is an independent organization.
Autonomous body.
Autonomous. Okay, it doesn't have it doesn't have to listen to what the government says. They can take it into consideration, but
Yes.
they are not liable to listen to them. Okay, so they are mandated to do two things: to keep the price system stable and the financial system stable. That is their
Primary role.
This is their role, objective. Okay, the rest are like sub objectives. These are the main two objectives. Okay, so when that COVID and another was to ensure highest employment. Okay, and when the COVID situation happened, okay, it is according to their objective. The government wanted the fund, of course, okay, but according to their objective, maximizing employment. Okay, they did that. Okay, because the thing is this: if they do it, the house price will go up, and then they won't do it. Okay, that is not their sort of what should I say? That's not headache. That's not their headache. They have their objective. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Now, if the government needs to borrow, okay, and government has a reason to borrow, okay, then the central bank has to give them, to make the thing so that they can get the money. They should not be worrying that what will happen to the house price. Okay. In that case, someone can say, I'm doing this, then what will happen to milk price? Then what will happen, So, but what will happen to milk price, we don't know. I mean, and the thing is after COVID, all rich economies, UK, USA, their house prices went up.
Okay.
So it is basically a global phenomenon. So it is not that it is only happening in New Zealand. Okay. So yes, I mean the New Zealand Reserve Bank doesn't have the mandate
Right.
to reduce
To fix this problem.
No, it is not there. Say if they increase money supply, I mean there is a relation. They increased money supply, bank got the money,
Yes.
and bank has to lend the money to somewhere because there's a business. Otherwise, they will have loss. Okay?
Yes.
And the bank is thinking that if I go to give it to businesses, then they will. They're risky. So the safest way is to lend the money to the household.
Yes.
Okay. So
this was bound to happen.
Yeah, and Reserve Bank will just give the money. Then what the banks do with the money, that's not Reserve Bank's business.
Yes.
But Reserve Bank said one thing that they could have done something if there is a thing called servicing ratio, loan to income ratio, right? And then usually it has to be only 2. So twice the amount of your income you could have sort of taken as a. Now it has gone up to 5, 5, 6, 5, 7, like the 7, right? Okay. So basically, which means that
That's very alarming.
say in Auckland, someone has one house, okay, and 2 houses, and he gets another loan for $1 million loan for another house, but he doesn't have that much income.
See? Wow.
Okay, income. So say for example, he has only $1 million income, but he's taking a loan of $5, $6, $7 million. Okay, so
So he basically, that person is inviting trouble for himself, his family,
Exactly.
and other institutions around him as well. Yes.
So according to the Reserve Bank's mandate that they have to maintain the financial stability, if the Reserve Bank it is given the right to them that they can interfere with the bank's decision that now you can't give more than 3 or more than 4, sort of income to loan to ratio, okay, then that can be done, and they are wanting this freedom or this that we'll do this. We can tell the bank that don't give this loan because the ratio is too high.
Great. But since we don't have that power,
We can
we won't do anything.
no, we can do anything.
Okay, fair enough. Last question, sir. We are at number 8 for best quality of life, but our GDP per capita PPP is $40,096, which is less than other 9 countries in the first 10. What do we need to do in order to be at par with other 9 countries? So मैं अपने व्यूअर्स को बताना चाहता हूँ, इकोनॉमिक्स में 2 टर्म्स है, क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ और स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग. क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ में लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी कैलकुलेट होती है, पॉल्यूशन, पॉपुलेशन, लेजर टाइम, ये सारी चीज़ें, आपकी पर कैपिटा इनकम भी कैलकुलेट होती है, लेकिन वो एक छोटा सा एक कंपोनेंट है. लेकिन जो स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग है उसमें मेजोरिटी पोर्शन जो है वो आपका वेल्थ और आपका स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग और आपका जो सैलरी है वो होता है. तो हमारा हैप्पीनेस में नंबर है, क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ में नंबर है, लेकिन हमारा जो पर कैपिटा इनकम है वो बाकी के जो विकसित देश है उससे बहुत कम है. तो इस बारे में हम उनसे पूछ रहे हैं. यस सर.
Okay, so in the OECD country list, the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, New Zealand this is called a rich countries club. So in this rich countries club, New Zealand is at the bottom. Okay, and you'll be surprised who is at the top. At the top is Singapore. Okay, just imagine Singapore was in a sort of just a small island, okay, in 1950s. Okay, now they are at the top of the OECD rank. Okay? So you will get the answer if you just compare, okay, what Singapore does and what New Zealand does. Okay, so there are lots of things that can be done, but yes.
In my last interview, sir, Professor Gamini Jayasuriya was praising Singapore as well when he said that Singapore has successfully solved out the housing problem, and today you are praising Singapore as well. So what is so special about Singapore, sir?
Singapore is, one of the reasons if I say that people will not really appreciate, because Singapore has limited democracy.
Yes.
Their system is not
So
like...
there is no bureaucratic hurdle there.
There's no bureaucratic, exactly.
Okay.
There is absolutely no bureaucratic hurdles. Okay, first step. And secondly, they're 100% merit-based system.
Okay.
So if you're meritorious, okay, you go to the top. Age doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your gender doesn't matter, nationality doesn't matter.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely meritorious system. Okay. So these have given them an extra edge. Okay, their workforce and their sort of system of governance, all right, has given them edge. Okay. The other thing is the Singapore's position. Okay, so they are in such areas that they are in the hub of Asia. Like everything happens. So it is the center for all exchanges and all this thing. So, anyways, that's why Singapore has now. New Zealand.
What can we do to be Singapore in terms of per capita income?
Yeah, in terms of per capita income. I mean, I think the problem is that there are lots of capacity unutilized in New Zealand. Okay, they really need to enhance their productivity.
So how can we do that?
Yeah, and now there are many ways to do that. Okay, I mean, enhancing productivity can come in many ways. Education is one, experience is one. I mean, government can heavily invest on human capital, heavily, like, I mean, so that will be like an approach like Bangladesh, like, in fact, we don't know what's going to happen in 30, 40 years, okay, but we're going to take this money, we're going to invest $10 billion every year to educate the people, send them to America, they'll study there, the loan will come from there, very broad approach,
Yes.
okay. And
So
then,
we have to invest in our demographic dividend,
exactly,
in our population.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we have to invest there. We have to invest in people, okay, more aggressively than what it is at the moment.
Very good answer, sir. Very good. Thank you so much. What an enlightening interview. देवी और सज्जनों, आज हमने बात की प्रोफेसर गाजी हसन से और उन्होंने शुरुआत की बांग्लादेश मॉडल के साथ और बाद में उन्होंने न्यूजीलैंड मार्केट के बारे में भी काफ़ी सारी बातें हमारे साथ शेयर की. बहुत ही इंफॉर्मेटिव सेशन रहा. धन्यवाद.
Thank you very much.